Welcome to the Fandom Outpost, your podcast for all things pop culture.
Welcome, everybody, to the Fandom Outpost. We have something very special planned today. This is a two-parter, so make sure you check out both parts. We have a series that we've been running called Director's Spotlight, and this particular one is a favorite, and it's director Michael Mann. It's in two parts because we're going to cover what we would consider his renaissance, if you will, the first part of his career, and then we will go into the latter half of his career. I'm one-third your host. As always, I am Mark.
I am Jim.
And I'm Bob. Hi, everybody.
Michael Mann has always been, I know that's, am I incorrect in saying this, Bob? That he's your guy. Like, wouldn't you say that he's your guy? Like, because you've followed his product over the years, I think so. So
yeah, him and Scorsese are probably my
Scorsese.
Top. When it comes to gritty type movies and music related, and cinematography and all that. Yeah, those two are the ones.
Nice. And Jim's just kind of bringing up the rear.
Yeah. I've dabbled a little, not enough, obviously, for this episode. But throughout our friendship, I've definitely known these guys have deep-rooted feelings for this director. And, he's an excellent director. There's no doubt about that.
Michael Mann has a very interesting career. He basically starts with the Jericho Mile, which is a TV movie. It's got that Michael Mann, you know how when you see their later works, you can go back and say, I see the beginnings of some of that. So, but it kind of came and went. Nobody really saw it, although the IMDb ratings are good. They're comparable with most of his. It's a 7.1. People really like it. But it's funny because right after that, he swings the bat and he hits with Thief, starring James Caan. And Bob, here's one of our background stories. Bob got me into Thief because I was like, what is that? And Bob was like, you got to watch this, dude. So way back in our days, in our youth, because there was a lot of different, same characters, right, Bob? Same characters in the Michael Mann universe popped up in Thief.
He got into that crime genre, and he had friends in Chicago, Dennis Farina, Chuck Adamson. I think they were both detectives, partners, I believe. I heard it. I heard an interview with Mann.
I forgot Dennis Farina was an actual cop. I forgot about that.
So they lent a lot of advice and direction into the whole crime aspect of Thief. So it's super realistic. I don't think you can get any more realistic than having actual either thieves or police involved in the making of it. So it's phenomenally put together, and the story is tremendous. There's a Criterion version of it on Blu-ray that's fabulous. And the soundtrack, I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot of the music in his films that always seem to end up on our top of some of our lists.
Oh yeah.
Tangerine Dream.
There you go. I was going to say,
Tangerine Dream.
Of course, Tangerine Dream.
Which crosses into all kinds of genres, right?
Oh yeah, dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love Thief because there's these legendary stories out there about James Caan being such this scary method actor and stuff like that. And you can only put those scarier, bigger guys up against a James Caan, So the people in that movie, those were great characters in that movie. And you almost feel bad for the James Caan character because you're like, wow, dude, like those other dudes are real scary. Like these are real bad guys, But, and awesome. By the way, I just have to say Willie Nelson was in the movie.
Yeah, Willie Nelson.
That's right. He is in that movie.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it's a great role for him. It's very brief. It would always be considered a cameo. But Thief, I would say, along with another movie, which we'll still stay on Thief for a second, laid the groundwork for a TV series that he did that we're going to have to get to. And Michael Mann, more than any other director, he builds a movie that's a roller coaster. So what you'll get is 2 hours of going up the roller coaster. You'll just get this character conversation, character development, backstory. Oh my God. When am I going to take a breath? But that last 10, 15 minutes of the movie, over the apex, the roller coaster comes downhill. And he usually, in a lot of his movies, has a hold your breath kind of ending. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
The structures of his films are right. It keeps you interested through the whole act, the first act, second act, third act, and it just pushes you through, like you said, to the conclusion.
He writes a lot of his own stuff, so I think that's amazing. Chuck Adamson, I think you had mentioned, he's associated with Michael Mann a lot during his development of stories and things like that. But I'm curious. I got to throw this out there right now. I know we do these crates, and we haven't done crates in a long time. What would you guys give Thief? Jim, I don't know if you can actively.
I would give it 5 out of 5 crates that I want to see it. I haven't watched it yet. But
Right.
for the last 40 years, the Tangerine Dream record has stared at me through every time I flip through the.
Yeah, dude, I got it. It's over on my
bins.
shelf right now. Yep.
And it's visually, stylistically, it's really gorgeous looking and lends itself to that TV show that we're going to talk about a little bit later.
Oh,
Everything feels like wet pavement and neon. And
oh my God, I just had that in my head. It's all rainy, gritty scenes in Chicago. And that Tangerine Dream score that propels it is like, wow. In fact, I never got the original album. I bought the remastered one because I'm like, I really want to hear, the top quality that they remastered that. So.
I believe Mann is known for the one for spraying down the streets. That became kind of a thing with him, that he would just water down the streets at night to get all that lighting, reflections, and things. It's just
I thought that would have been your boy Scorsese that did that. I thought that was his.
Well, I mean, that's,
those guys live in the same universe,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That gritty, realistic crime.
A
lot of conflicted characters is another issue. Characters that have to make a choice and are a little bit. It's like an existential kind of threat to the character.
Right. It's messing with their livelihood, and they have to overcome this threat in order to come out the other side. But the unfortunate thing for Mann movies is they don't come out the other side, or if they come out the other side, they're changed from what they thought they were going to be. Right. Thief is a great example of that, because in the last 10 minutes of the movie, he gives up everything that has made his life comfortable, or the perception of comfort, because he's going to go take out this existential threat that Bob's talking about and stuff. So, and does it very well.
Yeah. The last thing about Thief is that the whole thing about him dropping everything in his life so he could just get away from trouble is similar to De Niro. Didn't he say that in Heat about you whatever you can get in 30 seconds?
Exact same thing. Yep. Yeah. It'll be revisited several times over. You're right.
Guy told me one time, don't let yourself get attached to anything you are not willing to walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you feel the heat around the corner.
Right after that, he does a sci-fi supernatural horror movie called The Keep, which everybody hates. And on this panel, I absolutely love. I love the source material, and I love it. And who did the soundtrack for this one?
Tangerine Dream.
Yes, Tangerine Dream again. It's a great soundtrack.
I want to know more about this one. I haven't seen it, and I've always kind of heard about it from you guys. Have mentioned it before, and I'm kind of really super curious to check this out somehow. I've seen some clips on YouTube.
Right.
I mean, it looks a little 80s, a little dated.
It does.
Like you're kind of surprised he did this, but
I saw it about 1 million years ago once on TV or IT TV or cable, something before HBO happened. So
yeah, it was definitely in the days before cable. So I mean,
what was your recollection of it, Jim?
It had a really cool visual vibe to it. Scott
had
Glenn
that
is in
visual
it.
vibe.
Yeah, Scott Glenn is in it, and Ian McKellen is in it.
I was going to say, if you're not familiar with the cast, you got Scott Glenn, Gabriel Byrne, Ian McKellen, Jürgen Prochnow. Basically, it's a German-occupied fortress that people are dying mysteriously. So
in Romania or something.
In Romania.
World War II, right?
What it's about. Yeah, that's what it's about. Yeah. Gabriel Byrne is the head SS agent. He thinks it's partisans. It is not partisans. Spoilers, folks. It is a giant fucking monster that looks like he's half bodybuilder and half supernatural dude.
Like a Marvel villain or something?
Yeah, dude, it's really weird because he has a normal body, like from the midsection down.
He's got killer trapezoids coming up to
Oh, my God. Well, him and Scott Glenn got the same trapezoids in the movie.
Yeah.
Watch when Scott Glenn shows up at the end. He's got these trapezoids. It's ridiculous. Either you're going to like it or you don't like it.
Problematic film doesn't really have a good release over here. I think Paramount took it away from Mann or cut the envisioned ending. The effects guy on it had passed away, and apparently Mann does not care for it and disowns it. But
it's just crazy because there is a cult following for it. There's a lot of people that really like it. It not necessarily because they're like, oh my God, this story is the greatest since, whatever. But no, they just like it because it does have a lot of his visual cues and stuff like that. And you could tell it's early Mann. And the Gabriel Byrne and Ian McKellen performances are worth it alone. I mean, they give their all. They choose scenery. Their performances are worth it.
And the Keep information that I did research, I researched that Greg Nicotero, who was a producer of Walking Dead and effects guru going all the way back to Day of the Dead, amongst many other things for K&B effects, I heard that he was directing the remake of The Keep.
Oh, man.
So hopefully that's true.
So Thief is 81, The Keep is 83, and then the barn doors get blown off into 84 with the advent of Miami Vice, right? I mean, he's basically the showrunner, executive producer of Miami Vice. Yeah. And television has changed.
It's never the same. Yeah, it's changed forever. That's one of those moments, like when we talked about our podcast for television, that's one of those moments where television is completely altered because of a show. You can still see all its influence.
It influenced everything. I mean, I had a white sport jacket back in the 80s. I had to roll up those sleeves.
Did you wear your pants with no socks?
Yeah.
Thing?
I had the pastel T-shirt and the arms.
Oh my God!
It is certainly.
Ladies and gentlemen, if there is no photos of that exist, this podcast, this is nothing. Yes. Oh my God, dude, you got to swallow your pride and put that bad boy up, because if you don't, fans will be disappointed. Into everything.
It seeped into
but you also have to remember that you couldn't walk into a Silverman's or a Oak Tree or
oh my God, Oak Tree, oh my God,
or a merry-go-round,
and not clothing
buy,
store.
That's all there was available to you. So,
pastel
it's a show that defined a decade.
First of all, and the advent of Miami Vice, anybody that went on to superstardom has guest starred on Miami Vice. That was the show to guest star on. Let's find all these actors. Let's find some that are more popular than others, but boy, that was it.
It's the ultimate collision of music, television, MTV, pop culture, television, and then it seeped into movies as we move into our next movie shortly here. Everything collided and everything hit, and it like you said, it defined television at that time. In the Air Tonight is a classic scene. Check that one out. Find that clip of Miami Vice with Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight. And Biko is another song by Peter Gabriel that I remember. That one really got me. I still remember that.
It's a great song. Now, in retrospect, all these popular songs, has that become a nightmare for it to be released on TV? And
it makes you wonder.
A rights nightmare. Why we're not seeing it in reruns?
So far, no, because I have the 5 DVD releases of them, and the songs are all on there. So I haven't found one yet, but unless it's a really rare one or something.
They must have locked it down somehow.
Yeah, that's one of those things that if you have physical media for Miami Vice, I would hold on to that, because if that becomes a film's rights nightmare, you're never going to see that.
It could have very well been that it was seen as such a prestige project to be a part of that people are okay with that.
Right, so Miami Vice, like we said, it just kind of collided all the pop culture music elements at once in the mid-'80s, and that's basically around the time I met you guys, was around fall of 85. Yep. So after we started working together at the movie theater, our love of film brought us all together and caused many discussions in the theaters at the time.
Yeah. And then, of course, the perfect storm hit because, like, you liked Miami Vice, I liked Miami Vice. Jim was doing his monster thing, but in that Miami Vice era, I don't know, isn't there a small film or something that got released in there, Bob? Or...
We're introduced to Manhunter in 1986.
Oh, my God.
I know you guys always give me grief because it's one of my favorite films.
We don't give you grief.
I'm very passionate about this movie. It's probably one of my favorites, and there's just so many things I enjoy about it.
Could this be the top crate movie for you then?
That's probably going to be a top crater.
Ooh, watch out, folks.
It just stuck with me all these years. It's just, I love the soundtrack. I can listen to that soundtrack inside and out.
Yeah.
Cinematography, Dante Spinotti. It's a fantastic looking film. I know it's a little dated with the 80s, but there's a lot of light, blue light, green light colors from their wardrobe. The acting is tremendous. William Peterson became one of my top actors in that era.
Absolutely.
Dennis Farina. Some of the same crew follows along with Mann into this, and some of the Miami Vice actors also follow along into it. I love the dialogue, the snappy. It's actually the first film presence of Hannibal Lecter, played by Brian Cox.
Do you have the file with you? Yes. Pictures? Yes. Let me have them and I might consider it.
No.
Dream much, Will?
Which is a tremendous performance.
Oh, yeah.
Great performance. Yeah. I mean, now he's got a lot of accolades with his new series.
Succession,
right.
Succession,
but if you go back and watch him in Manhunter, it's tremendous. I mean, just a tremendous scenes he's in. It's just a few scenes.
Yeah, the doctor's not the main character.
Yeah, he's not the focal point, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's from the Red Dragon book by Thomas Harris. So that's another great reference.
You never get Hannibal Lecter's story.
Not until Jonathan Demme takes it a step further, right? With Silence of the Lambs.
Well, I mean, but you don't.
2 years later, but yeah.
Hannibal's always in prison. That's the problem. You know what I mean? Like, and he's helping people out.
Right. But he's able to manipulate and talk and communicate with the Tooth Fairy, played by is it Thomas Noonan?
Yeah, Tom Noonan. Yeah.
That dude scared the shit out of me and everything I've seen of
Francis Dollarhide, yeah.
He's great.
Francis Dollarhide, yeah.
There's a couple shots, just to touch a little bit on the cinematography, a couple shots that stuck with me, and they're just throwaway shots, but I just find them fascinating. Will Graham runs out of after meeting Lecter, he's all flustered and runs out of the psych ward and goes outside to get some fresh air. And he kind of looks over the ledge of the rail, and you look down, and it's like a blurry, grassy field, very green, all blurry. Cut back to him, cut back to the field, it's crisp in focus. It's just this weird, like, you got a sense of his disorientation when he comes out. And it's just little things like that.
Visual cue on that.
Yeah, it's just little subtle things, but
I forgot about that. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Cinematography's cool. I just music's cool. The soundtrack's really.
It's got a really nice soundtrack.
If those who are listening, you got to listen to Bob's words, man. This movie has been part of his soul for 40 years or something, I guess. 35 years.
35 years, yeah.
Manhunter is one of those things that it kind of felt like you were in the club, like the secret club that you knew about when like Silence dropped. You're like, oh, I know all about who this guy is. And it's like, and and then it took everybody else all this time to, once Lecter became such a big character, everybody got a chance to go back and catch up.
And that would be years later, dude. That would be like
years.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'd be almost like 6 years later when that movie hits and just rockets everything, you know.
I got a funny story. This laser disc behind me with Dollarhide on it. I'm in a Manhunter, a Michael Mann film Facebook group, and I won a raffle to win this rare Japanese laser disc. Yeah, I had to put that up there.
Man.
Yeah, it was such a fun thing that I got randomly picked, and I was just really grateful I won that. So
that's awesome.
I'll throw a little love to that group because it's a fun group to be on in Facebook.
So now I'm going to revisit that question, dude. So what kind of crate action are you going to throw at that one?
I got to give it a 5. I mean, that's my top. I can't imagine what else.
It's everything it needs to be done at the highest level it could be done at. So
for me, it hits on all cylinders.
At the right time for this guy. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
It's literally the reason we have CSI.
Yeah.
CSI comes from that. That
Good
TV
way
show
to put it,
CSI
Jim.
with the same
my
actor
God.
comes from that. How would you guys compare that to Red Dragon? I know we're very biased
I
on
know.
this.
I like Red Dragon.
I do too. I've come to
I-
like it over the years.
I've come to like it. I do not prefer Edward Norton as an actor. I just like that they
His
allow-
hair throws me off that entire
Yeah.
film. It looks really weird.
Yeah,
It looks like
it's a
a bad wig.
I like that they were like, listen, we got to do this trifecta thing. We have to get Anthony Hopkins back to do this. Like, I
Yeah,
just,
they owned it. So
I know why they did it. I mean, I
Right.
understand.
Make it a full set, right?
Make it a full set, and it's closer to the source material.
Doesn't erase
Although
it, so.
what is it? What's his name? Ray Fiennes. Ray
Yes.
Fiennes is an excellent Dollar Hyde. He is a really
Yeah.
good Dollar
It's
Hyde.
a little different take,
Yeah.
but yeah.
It's a different take, and he's more physical than
Tom Noonan character.
Tom Noonan. Tom Noonan is scary,
Right.
but I
He's
think
he's
Ray
an
Fiennes
imposing
went-
figure. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Fiennes
that's
looks
cool.
like he could glide through normal life and people wouldn't think twice.
Right.
Whereas Noonan had the cleft chin, cleft lip, and odd speaking patterns, and you would think, oh my
Right.
God, this guy's
Plus, he's a very tall individual.
tall and
Yeah.
imposing. You'd be like, oh my God, this guy's a little scary. Right. So we should probably move on.
I don't think we'll spend too much time on Crime Story. Crime Story is a 1950s pre-Miranda Las
60s,
Vegas 60s show that was conceived by Michael Mann, starring Dennis Farina. About
Starts in
these-
Chicago.
Yeah, and eventually moves out to Las Vegas. And it's all about like the mafia stories and stuff like that, about the rise of crime in Vegas after Chicago. You're right, sorry. But it's got all that same flavor. But don't expect Miami Vice, folks. It was not that. And Bob loved the show, right, Bob? You love
Yeah,
Crime Story.
it was
yeah.
it was an interesting story.
I watched the
Right.
pilot last night, so because I've known what Crime Story was, and I've known Bob's love for Crime Story, and it
Right.
felt very Scorsese. Some of the
Yeah.
dialogue was a little rough in that pilot. It was just like,
Yeah,
I'm not,
Right.
they were certainly going through a vibe. The music does a lot of heavy lifting for the time period, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a variable who's who of actors. Because I'm
Oh,
texting
sure
these
was.
guys last night, and I'm like, oh, here's this guy. Oh, here's Eric Bogosian. Oh,
Yeah.
here's Joe Polito. Oh, here's Stephen Lang.
And as you go through the series, just like Miami Vice, dude, there's a lot of people that are going to be up there. I love actor William Russ. He was the one that he gets killed in the first episode
Oh,
of
okay.
Crime Story,
Got
the
it.
pilot. So that's actor William Russ. William Russ went on to be in one of my top television shows, Wise Guy. Like, I really enjoy his acting.
That's
And
why
he
was
went
good.
on, yeah. And he did family stuff too later on, but he was a good actor. I really liked him and stuff. So
And I recognize the Farina's number 2 guy. I
Yeah.
think he's in a lot of stuff, but he was in a TV show that we watched years ago called Life Goes On, where he played a dad and Patty LuPone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, what's that guy? I go, I love that guy. He's great.
yeah,
and it's funny, right? Because Ted Levine, right, is in it.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
Yep.
he was in it. Yeah, Ted Levine was in it.
yeah.
Bill Campbell from The Rocketeer.
He's in Silence of the Lambs as the Buffalo Bill.
Oh, my
it's
God.
like there's a weird whole another Venn diagram, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, like that's weird. Like, it's almost like, let me take the tough Chicago guys out of this, and I'll save him for this one. Like, it's almost like, did Michael Mann have that in the back of his head?
Yes, and as you were saying, pre-Miranda rights. Oh my God, is it pre-Miranda? I was trying to figure out who was the more violent, the police or the criminals. So
Yeah, that's what I mean. So yeah, that pre-Miranda rights stuff is like, wow.
there was like a freaky car chase in that, and these boat, 60s cars
Right,
are
big,
just
huge
like
cars, yeah.
careening back and forth on the expressway, and I was like, oh my God.
And it's
Shoot, but
funny
it was
because they're really
firing
not
shotguns
going
out
that
the window,
fast.
right?
You
No,
can
right,
tell.
they're not going that
Like,
fast, right?
but so when they round the corner and the people are watching them, you're like, okay, those cars can't be going more than 40 miles an
Yeah,
hour.
right.
But
Right.
it does look funny. Like, oh well, it's
But
a
they
chase.
weigh like
So
a tank. So I'm certainly looking forward to watching the rest of it. It ticks off a lot of like mid-century modern
Right.
Mad Men.
right, absolutely.
Again, it feels very like I'm one neighborhood over from a Scorsese film.
Yeah. That's a good. way to put it.
like his characters,
Right.
they all can all bump into each other at a restaurant.
That's amazing. That is
So-
awesome. What a connection. Scorsese universe around that time versus the Man universe around that time.
So
Jimmy and Polly around
So-
the corner.
yeah, right, totally. Yeah,
Holy
they're
shit,
working the
that's
next
right,
thing.
Pauly.
So
Yeah. In between Crime Story and what I consider Michael Mann's outcoming, where the public embraces him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He does a little known TV movie that nobody ever hears about. It's called LA Takedown. I watched it when it first came out. I was like, this thing's great. It was about a thief and his crew trying to get taken down by a robbery homicide detective and his crew. Now, if that sounds familiar, folks, it is, because he revisited that in a big screen movie that we'll get to, and we're going to end this part one on probably that one. But LA Takedown is definitely worth watching. Some of the same dialogue. It's got shot for shot some of the same scenes. The characters are very interesting because, like, why wouldn't they be if he gave them the same dialogue, years prior? He just doesn't have the caliber of actors. But the Vincent Hanna character, whoever that guy is, he was great. Like, I was like, this dude's, he'd give Al Pacino a run for his money. But anyway, you can't find it anywhere. You might be able to find it. And I feel so good about myself. I'm bragging because I got to see that on that TV thing but years before he did Heat. And here's an embarrassing part. I'll admit, I don't care. I didn't make the connection. It was years later that I was like, holy shit, that I made the connection. But I didn't at the time. Yep. And then, of course, right before he drops it's not a weird movie, but it's based on source material, James Fenimore Cooper's novel, The Last of the Mohicans. It's a great novel, but I don't really have a lot of information why Michael Mann chose to do that one.
He must have wanted to do something different, I'm having a feeling.
I remember hearing or reading that he was a very, a history buff, like to a point where he was like, no, the buttons are on the wrong side of the vest of the red coat.
Last of the Mohicans is definitely a Michael Mann film, but it's not. Why? I got to say the biggest thing is because the time period, you got no crime element, so he doesn't get to use his camera the way he does with his crime element.
There was no wedding down the pavement.
Yeah, you get the wedding down the pavement.
That bridge shot is tremendous. That still water with the bridge near the beginning of that.
Yeah.
It's like, it looks like a mirror of the bridge.
Yeah, it's beautifully shot in beautiful country.
Folks, if you're out there, go back and just look up coming to the fort for the first time when they round the corner, and it's like boom, boom, and you can see the cannon bursts and stuff. I mean, I haven't seen a shot like that ever. Like, to me, I was like, oh, this is a Michael Mann film, but like, it doesn't look like a Michael Mann film. That cinematography of them in the water coming to the fort, sneaking into the fort. Oh my God, that was great.
The fighting scenes, especially when the Hurons are attacking them, attacking the British caravan. They attack from both sides.
Oh my God,
that is a tremendous scene. That fighting, that war scene, I guess you'd call it, or whatever. The war group.
Introduce the world to Wes, is it Wes?
Wes
Studi.
Yeah. Oh, yes. My favorite. He steals that movie. He actually steals the movie from
Daniel Day-Lewis. Oh my God. Yeah. He's gone on to do a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, and maybe he's got a lot of pride in this, his Native American heritage. He went on to play a lot to roles. So
right, I think he plays Crazy Horse or Cochise.
Yeah, something like that. Which I admit, but I love that Michael Mann circled back around and put him in Heat. He was one of the detectives in Heat. So the guy can act in other stuff. He doesn't need to be in period pieces. Like, he's a phenomenal actor, So.
Anytime I see him in stuff, he's I'll stop the remote, to see what's going on.
Yeah, it's like, I can see what's going on with him, right? So,
Magua is such a good character. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, he is. There's some faults with the movie. It's basically in some of the ancillary characters, not necessarily the two stars that technically, would do whatever they do. Oh, and Subverted Tactics, by the way, if you guys haven't seen it, not you guys, but folks out there, you expect Magua and, oh my God, what is Daniel Day-Lewis's Hawkeye to be they're going to have this big fight at the end.
Boss battle, right?
Yeah, and you don't get that. You get a really good battle, though.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, before we started this today, Jim was like, that last 15 minutes, boy, you can't leave. Like, you can't leave your seat. Like, it's fully builds to you. Yeah. As soon as the song starts.
Great character turn by the British general. Or the, captain or whatever.
Absolutely. Oh my God, dude. Yeah.
And that guy shows up in Pirates of the Caribbean, one of those versions of it.
And he was good, that whole turn. And I like the fact that Hawkeye was like, I'm not going to let him burn to death. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
there was like an honor and a respect, and
Yeah.
it's like, and the guy was like, yeah, do it.
He
was
He was like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. You know what's crazy, dude? I get goosebumps because his brother or his
Uncas,
adoptive
yeah.
family, the Uncas.
Oh,
Uncas. Oh, I love Uncas. Yeah.
He's awesome.
So
yeah.
he puts that hand, like it's like they just come out of that burning scene, and you watch the scene, and he I guess he's watching Magua take the sister, right? But he puts that hand on his dad, and that's right when the music kicks in. Because I was like, oh shit, Uncas is going after those guys.
Yeah,
like
right.
he's not waiting for anybody, and he took off. I was like, man, that is fucking
And
amazing.
it's like a very subtle, like we don't even have to say anything. And he's like, I got you. Let's go. Yeah, Hawkeye gets his name from his aim. Now, double shooting muskets at people is film trope, but that's fun. I would have it no other way, right?
I was just about to say, the one critic's reaction I read when it first came out, because I got to see it in the theater as well, was like, shooting the muskets and doing it. Look how quick they reeled. Shut the fuck up. Just enjoy the movie, you know?
Well, that's one of those things where, like, Daniel Day, like, method acted and learned how to do all that and lived in the woods. And
oh, my God, yeah. Oh, he has a great line in there where they revisit a family. And the family's dead. They were killed by I think the Huron, but the war parties that are raiding along the coast. And Madeline still gets really mad at him. She's like, "Let us attend to them. They deserve a Christian burial." And he looks at her, and you can tell he's upset. He wants to like punch her in the face because she doesn't understand. But he says, "They stay where they lay, and they were not strangers, Miss Monroe." Dude, I was like, oh my God, he cares about them. Like, I really was like feeling that shit. I was like,
right?
Yeah, dude, they knew them. And he's like, they stay where they lay, and they're not strangers, Miss Monroe, and they got to peace out and stuff. Damn, that was moving to me. I was like, that's Academy Award winner right there. Daniel Day-Lewis, everybody. Daniel Day-Lewis.
We come to the end, we find out why he is the last of the Mohicans. Who is the last of the Mohicans, and why
really is the last of the Mohicans. That's right. It
right.
subverts your expectations, right? It is Chingachgook, or I can't say his name, but it's something like that.
The father.
So, the father.
Well,
and that's the movie that brings Michael Mann into, I think, the world. It's not the niche crime things anymore. He makes that. A lot of people enjoy it. I mean,
that's
it gets
a big critical success for him, right?
It gets a high 7s on IMDb and stuff. It doesn't make a lot of money because it's a period piece. But that's the movie that people remember. They don't necessarily go, "Oh, he's the one that made that thief," right? Like they don't. Like people do remember Last of the Mohican. So this was part 1 of our director spotlight, Michael Mann. Thank you for joining us. We had a good time with just his career up to the 90s, I guess, is what we did. So the next one we're gonna start with a bang.
All right. Follow us at the Fandom Outpost on social media, Instagram, Facebook. We like to interact with our viewers and listeners there and everywhere you get your podcasts. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate any support with subscriptions and likes. And we're doing it for you because we like to share our love of movies and pop culture and all our fun stuff we enjoy together.
I guess we should. And folks, I apologize if we haven't thrown out thanks enough, because that does seem like something that
absolutely
so many people do. But for anybody who's even following us, even if it's one person, thank you, man. I mean, it says a lot to us and stuff, so we appreciate it. That is what we are going to call part 1 for our director's spotlight of Michael Mann. If you enjoyed that, please join us for Director Spotlight Michael Mann part 2, but this will end part 1 of Director Spotlight Michael Mann, and we'll see you around.